Hey, what's up, YouTube? We're back with another video. Today, we're going to be discussing the rest of the stratagems. We started with the support weapons and the mechs and the backcracks in the last episode. Today, we're going to be finishing up. Since the last episode, as you can probably tell, we were actually in the void and we are no longer in these city maps, which is a good thing because now I can start judging it based on, wide open terrain and so on and so forth. But also the fact that it's more apparent in the wide open maps that the new faction, the Void Snatchers, don't spawn like normal units that we've dealt with in Helldivers. Typically, there's some kind of unit like the Watcher or just bugs in general or small tier bots that, pop a flare up and then reinforcements come, but they come in a certain area. It doesn't happen with the Void Snatchers. The Void Snatchers are purely a patrol-based spawning system, and they don't always come in the more traditional, walk at you from a predetermined location. So they actually are a little bit more difficult to place, especially for your orbitals, but it's more apparent in those wide open maps. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to kind of test it out today. Luna's got things to do, like come over to my other side of the desk and be a cute little kitten. She's looking for attention. I will try to give you guys my full attention though, but it's going to be difficult. She's being very cute. All right, starting off, we are going to have the Orbital Precision Strike. I think this stratagem, if you have not been playing recently, they did buff all the 380mm projectiles. That includes the 380mm barrage, but that does also include the Orbital Precision. It has been buffed. Basically, the radius of the damage and the overall damage of itself has been increased. It's nice. It's nice to use. I think it is fairly good for using on objectives and things of that nature. It's not the best stratagem because there aren't any large targets like a Bile Titan or something like that to use it on, but at least the utility is there with a fairly good reuse time. I'm hoping that the cooldown time on the orbital position improves over time, but it's still quite high. It's something that I really do wish that they would drop it by another 10, 15, 20 seconds, maybe even, to make it a little bit more competitive with something like the 500 kg. But high B+, A- tier, it's good for taking out crushers or objectives. I wouldn't exactly use it on the wretches unless they were tightly clumped or something like that, but it can be a bit awkward to use. Next, we have the Orbital Gatling Barrage. Honestly, really short cooldown, nice to use. Occasionally, enemies will just walk through it, no problem. That's kind of just an accuracy concern for it, but it's just a really nice one to use, especially when they're walking in patrols towards you or in large clumps. You can use this on objectives as well. Nice short cooldown. What's not to like about it? Heavy pen, and it can soften up targets quite a bit for you. I do like it. It's just solid, hard to argue against it. Next, we have Gas Strike. I want to say it's a little higher just because it has more of a lingering effect. You can use this against objectives as well, taking out UFOs and stuff like that. Just make sure the projectile itself lands on the ship. Throw it on top of the ship, basically. Sticky ball hits, you kill it, which is great. Next, we have the 120mm barrage. I absolutely love this thing, as always. Nice short cooldown. This also did get a change with a lower, or actually higher damage, but it has that same pretty low cooldown of about 2 minutes. I love using this thing on Illuminate already, and I feel like it works quite well on this faction in general. I don't think the projectile will quite one-shot it unless it impacts directly a crusher, but still a solid option. A nice short cooldown, fairly accurate on that particular zone. It's quite nice. Next, we have the Orbital Airburst, C tier. I almost want to put it in D tier, but the only reason I'm not going to is because it has quite a bit of explosive damage, and normally I put it lower on these tier lists, but it's mostly because it doesn't have heavy pen. It's purely an explosive based medium pen stratagem, and the angle of attack typically is pretty bad, but it kind of works out in its favor in terms of dealing with crushers and leapers over a large area. And because it doesn't need the heavy pen, it works pretty well against them. Short cooldown, easy to put in stratagem, 3 right arrows, but I still hope that it gets some love in the future. I've said it before that hopefully it gets either more barrages, more projectiles, so every time it does do the attack, that it's more likely to hit things, because if your ship is on one side of the map and you're targeting the other side, side, the angle of attack is so low, it turns into this massive oval, and then it's spread out. All the projectiles are spread out so much that it's actually going to not hit target very often. Maybe if they ever change how the ships are positioned around the map, maybe they bring them more central, so there's a better angle of attack more often. But yeah, it suffers from that change, but also power creep. Basically, all the other stratagems around Orbital Airburst have been improved a lot over time, and it has been improved. Don't get me wrong, but it needs some more love. Next, we have smoke. Solid. This one is going to be something like B-. It's okay. I'll probably put C+. It's okay. You can avoid a decent amount of enemies with it, but because of how the orbital stratagem works, there's a decent amount of pockets, so enemies can still see through. Not my favorite. If I am going to use a smoke stratagem, I would just rather use the Eagle variant of it. It's a more uniform curtain of smoke, but also this is taking into account more so tier 10 group play, and stealth in general in tier 10 group play is much harder because you're keeping track of 4 individuals and trying to keep them stealthy rather than just yourself. So a little harder to use. Next, we have EMS. It's okay. I would much rather use gas in this situation because I feel both of them still largely pretty much do the exact same thing. EMS will lock them in place and stun the crushers and wretches and so on and so forth and stop them from moving. But at least gas is going to be doing some damage and lingering against wretches, and it's very nice against wretches. But for crushers, it will keep them moving and stomping the ground and, you know, throwing a temper tantrum. But I would rather have that than EMS because dealing with the voteless, dealing with the flesh mobs, dealing with all the enemies and dealing damage tends to just be better. Orbital EMS does have the ability to deal with some objectives for you because the projectile does have enough damage. Same with smoke. So there is that. There's some redeeming factors to it. But I would say EMS, we were having a discussion on stream today of why would you rather CC something than eliminate something, like kill it, right? And it usually happens when it's worth CCing something that has a lot of HP and it takes a long time to kill or is very dangerous versus things that are relatively easy to kill. And, you know, it would just be easier just to dispatch them than to CC them, then stare at them and then kill them. You know what I mean? So it's hard to justify when there's no large enemy that you can CC on this particular faction. So not my favorite. Next, we have the 380mm barrage. I don't think I appreciate it as much on this particular faction just because of I really like it on the other factions because when the enemies call in reinforcements and they come up out of the ground or they come from the sky, there's a one spot that you can be like, that's where I'm going to throw the 380 and I'm going to deal with that. You don't really get that on this faction. They will come from a large variety of areas, especially at the beginning of the map when you have a bunch of bases and stuff like that. They're going to be walking towards you. And you can't just single out like one particular area as easily as when you have the other factions. I still think it's good because sometimes you will just have a large contingent of patrols congregating in like one particular area, 50 you know, meters radius, and you just throw it, forget about it, lots of damage done. It's great, but I don't appreciate it as much on this particular faction. With the other void planets, I think you're probably going to see much more use out of this. You know, when there is an Illuminate drop on the appropriator version, fantastic, love it, but it's less useful here. Same goes for the walking barrage, even more so. I don't find that I'm seeing large groups of patrols walking from very far distance. They're usually coming from, because they do spawn, if you don't know, you have a bubble around you that they can't spawn of about, I think it's like, if I remember right, it's like 65 to 80 meters or something like that, and they can't spawn within that radius, but they can spawn just outside. So around 100 meters or so, they will spawn. And the walking barrage really shines when you see that large line of enemies. In particular, maybe when there's a bot drop and they start walking towards you, you can get a lot of value out of it. Or like a good base, you know, on the Illuminate or on the bot front, you know, that's like that. But I find the bases on the Illuminate faction are really easy to take out. They're often have no walls or anything like that, so I don't really appreciate it. Maybe on that new mission, if you see the geyser, so many different ways to pronounce it, and we've been joking around all day, but the geyser turrets on the new void planets, the walking barrage would be pretty good for eliminating those before you walk in. But on this particular faction, I'm not seeing that particular mission have this variant, which is kind of weird. I'm only seeing it on appropriators and models masses, so it's kind of unfortunate. Next, we have the Orbital Laser. The Orbital Laser struggles against crushers, it doesn't do a particularly good job versus them. I don't think it's terrible like C or D tier, but it's a pretty long cooldown for something that can only take out a couple crushers before it ends duration. It does leave fire on the ground, which is going to be great against the leapers and stuff like that. And it does like, it's like a fire and forget, right? You throw it and you leave it and you just ignore it, right? And it can be useful if timed correctly, but you only get 3 uses and it's a fairly long cooldown. I'm probably being too nice to it and it probably deserves to be in C+ tier, but it's still not like useless. It does have a decent amount of value, but I probably see myself enjoying Walking Barrage for 380 because at least I can use it several more times throughout that same mission and I'll be able to throw it more reliably at things. I could probably see more value in using it on Illuminate outposts to quickly eliminate them. But like I said, Illuminate outposts are not particularly hard to kill, especially on this particular variant. I'm not really seeing those like dug in, really hard to take out Illuminate installations. It's mostly like the easy ones that are like propped up on the hill and you have like easy access to even shoot them outside. It's, I don't know. I'm not really seeing the vision of the laser on this particular faction. It's probably somewhere between B and C tier. Orbital Napalm Barrage, fantastic as always. Although the same struggles still happen with other barrages of they're not clumping in one particular spot. At least it has so much stopping power and lingering that a lot of patrols will be walking into that fire long after the last barrage actually finishes. So it has a lot of use and it also has that wide radius. It has a much better overall exposure in that 50 by 50 meter radius than what we would look at with 380. 380 will have lots of pockets of enemies that will just survive. But when you have the 380, Orbital Napalm Barrage, all the projectiles will land. Yeah, they may or may not hit something, but then they will have the lingering fire effect, which is extremely good against basically the entire faction, right? So it's just really good, but you're not surprised to see it there. I'm sure it's really strong. Railgun, I guess you could throw it at a UFO occasionally on the ground, but it's like, why would you use that or not just use like something else? It's just unnecessary. Yeah, you can kill one crusher every 2 minutes or so, like I guess, or more than that. Sorry, it's closer to 3, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's worth it here. I would avoid it. It's just not necessary. Next, we have Strafing Run. I really love this one. It's probably like A to S tier. The other reason I maybe don't want to put an S tier is it's not a very reliable way of killing enemies at all points in time. Crushers will often survive. It's not always the best at killing reliably. It has trouble at times just because of like the way the explosions work. They might go between its legs. They might go to the left or right of them, but it is a very solid one. It's dancing between S and A tier for me. I do really like it. It is good versus a lot of things. One Strafing Run is not enough often to kill a UFO unless it's already weakened, but you know, it's very good. I'm going to put it in A+ tier for now, but you know, it's teetering. Very much teetering. Next, we have Airstrike. Fantastic. A more reliable way to take crushers out, but you get less usage of it. You know, obviously you don't have as many, but it is very useful for basically the entire breadth of the enemies. Yeah, it's just really strong. Next, we have Cluster Bomb. I've been using a lot more of this recently. You get 5 uses of it. It's really nice to have for all of the very weak to explosive enemies on this particular faction. It has a nice coverage. Just make sure to not throw it too close to yourself or your teammates. It is extremely deadly to Helldivers, but I did like having this for those like large clumps of enemies. It doesn't always take out crushers. You need a decent amount of the explosives to land next to a crusher, but it will weaken them significantly while also covering a large swath of territory, giving you 5 uses. It's just really nice to have. I would recommend. It is up there. Just be careful. Just be careful when using it. Next, you have Eagle Smoke. B tier. I just don't think stealth on this particular faction isn't the easiest to do, just with all the patrols around. But if you can make it work, all the power to you. Maybe use it for an escape route and stuff like that. But this is definitely the one I would use over Orbital Smoke. Next, we have Eagle Napalm. They buffed it. It didn't really need it. It was already really good, but they buffed it and it has more spread and larger radius and it's got a new effect, which obviously gives it plus aura. It's really cool. You can pose in front of it and it does a ton of damage. It is basically the Eagle equivalent of the Orbital Napalm Barrage. It is more flexible, which is really nice for these missions, which is why I'd actually give it a little bit of an edge over Orbital Napalm Barrage, because it is more flexible in the sense of there's a bunch of patrols coming from this area. Let me put a curtain of fire over there. Oh shoot, a bunch of patrols are coming from this area. Let me put a curtain of fire. Rather than Orbital Napalm Barrage, you almost need to wait for those, you know, 2 groups to converge converge on you and then throw it, or pick one or the other, right? With a fairly long cooldown. But because you get 4 uses on Orbital Napalm, you have a lot of flexibility in that one. So highly recommend Orbital Napalm, or sorry, not Eagle Napalm. I love it. It's very good. Next we have 110s. They recently improved 110s quite a bit. It got a massive increase, and we've been seeing usage of it all across bugs and bots. Stay tuned. We will be updating those tier lists as well. So be ready for those. 110 millimeter rocket pods does not work here though. Other than being pretty good against flesh mobs, I find it just misses crushers a lot. I don't know, maybe I'm just particularly unlucky, but I brought it for several missions in a row and it killed crushers sometimes. There were a lot of times where it just missed. And that's a mixture of crushers being fairly mobile when they get close to you and swinging, but also they're pretty slender. It's definitely more designed towards hitting like a Hulk that's pretty fat, or a Charger, or a Bile Titan, or a tank, you know, something larger of stature. It doesn't do particularly well. I think it's B- because it can kill them and it is okay at it sometimes if you can get the right angle and so on and so forth, but it was not very successful at doing it for me personally. Let me know in the comments section below if it was more successful for you guys, but even when I saw my friends and my teammates using it, they weren't finding much success other than like killing flesh mobs with it and stuff like that. But flesh mobs are at the point where they've been nerfed so much that they're pretty easy to kill with most just explosive weapons and things of that nature, grenades and such. So bringing a stratagem just for them is kind of meh. 500 kg, awesome as always. Hard to argue against it. Really good versus objectives, really good versus ad clearing. You only get 2 usages of it, which is kind of unfortunate. So you're not going to get as much value out of like it as much as like Eagle Napalm, but you know, it's really good versus crushers, although less effective versus large swaths of area like Eagle Napalm is. But yeah, really nice to use. Highly recommend. A+ S tier. Once again, teetering there. You know, it might end up being S tier with strafing, but it's teetering. It's teetering for me. I'm not quite willing to put it there just yet. Next, we have the MG Sentry, A-. I'm going to put it A- just because I feel like it is quite nice against the wretches, voteless, and fairly good against flesh mobs, but it's mostly just adding extra damage to crushers. And as we've spoken about before, just raw ballistic damage to crushers is very inefficient. It's wasting a lot of its ammunition on basically something it shouldn't be shooting. But I'm going to keep it an A tier just because it's so good against the rest of the stratagems and it's on a very low cooldown. So if it does waste a lot of its ammunition versus a crusher, at least hopefully you get the next usage to deal with it. And also it's a pretty good aggro tool. Like you can kind of just throw it out and then all the crushers will walk towards it until they bonk it. So it's pretty good at that. Next we have the Gatling Sentry. I'm gonna put a little higher than the MG Sentry just because at least it has more raw firepower. So if it does target a crusher, there's a good chance it'll kill at least one before it gets taken out. But yeah, same kind of thing. It is a little bit more deadly to you and your team, so make sure that you're throwing it either on an off angle so it shoots at your enemies, or you're throwing it out in front of you. Just be careful to throw it behind you and then walk in front of it. A lot of people make that mistake, then get mowed down. Also, warn your teammates. Do me a favor. Next, we have the Rocket Sentry. This one's a little bit hard for me to judge because I do feel like the Rocket Sentry is actually really good on this faction, but it can get absolutely bullied by wretches and crushers. It is extremely good at sniping crushers if you can protect it. If you can't protect it, it just gets mogged by a ton of wretches and dies almost immediately. But if you can protect it, it will take out maybe 10 plus crushers before it runs out of ammunition. It is very efficient at doing it and it's very accurate and it snipes them, especially if you can put them in like a safe spot on a high hill or a rocky formation or something where enemies can't get it. Amazing. But you have to have that map knowledge of where to throw it and you have to be pretty good about protecting it. You got to. If you don't, it just dies and does nothing. So I'm going to put it middle A, but it could easily be S tier if you protect it. So keep that in mind. Next, we have the Autocannon. It is not as good as the Rocket Sentry, but it is more self-sufficient. It does protect itself a little bit better. It does better at dealing with enemies that get close to it. And it has really good like ad clear potential of like mobs and stuff like that. It is as good as the Rocket Sentry killing crushers. It's just not as efficient. One Autocannon Sentry can't kill as many crushers as a Rocket Sentry because the Rocket Sentry just has way more potential damage because it actually reloads itself. But they're going to be stuck together because they're more or less the same pros and cons wise. It kind of equals out to one another, but I would recommend. Next, we have mortars. please don't bring them. For the sake of your team, please don't bring them. If you are an absolute god at constantly pinging and you have the ship upgrade to ping your targets, sure. But the thing is that you're not perfect, you're not infallible, and it will target wretches as they're trying to attack your teammates, and your teammates are going to die to your mortars, and it sucks. And yeah, it's cool to have mortars, but like, just bring your other mortar. Just bring another one. They're more useful because they don't kill your teammates. Trust me. It's better if your teammates aren't dying and getting mad at you. Trust me, please. All right, EMS mortar, decent. Good CC over the large form of the map. It's nice for patrols because it will individually swivel and attack targets, and it may actually prevent a patrol from getting to you. Sometimes it gets a little too sidetracked and a little ADHD focused on a patrol, and you've probably seen this on bots in particular. It'll just keep launching EMS shells at the same targets over and over again, locking down a potential patrol, making it really easy to kill or just ignore, which is kind of funny. Pretty good though. B-, decent. Next we have the gas sentry, or the gas mortar. Honestly, really nice to have. I do recommend. I love using this thing. I think it works pretty damn well. I like using it on this faction. It's great against crushers, flesh mobs, wretches, voteless. It's just nice to have in your repertoire, but it's like the rocket sentry. If you don't protect it, it's trash. It doesn't really have the ability to protect itself. So if you're going to throw it down, idle around it, basically. You know, you got to be watching out if enemies are going to be going for it, because it is a magnet for attention. That's also a good thing, right? It's less attention on you. So you could actually throw it away as like a aggro tool. So keep that in mind. Next, we have the laser sentry. This thing has been getting some love recently. It got a fire time increase before it overheats. Laser sentry in general has been, you know, kind of forgotten, but with that improvement, I do notice it doing a lot better. It does snipe enemies because of the fact that it lights enemies on fire. It is doing pretty damn well. It's not particularly great against crushers, but it does well against the rest of the faction, including flesh mobs. I'm going to put it B+. It does fire for a lot longer, and if there isn't an overwhelming force in front of you, it may even have the opportunity to cool down and get a lot more value out of it, because it technically does have limited ammo, and it does sometimes get that ability to do that. Next, we have the flame sentry. I'm going to put it right next to the machine gun sentry, more or less the same tier. It is nice to have versus wretches and flesh mobs and so on and so forth, because it has the longer range than the normal flamethrower, and if it is targeting a crusher, it will disorient it, so it kind of has self-peel ability. It's pretty damn good. I do enjoy bringing it. It's nice. Tesla Tower was quite a disappointment on this faction. I'm gonna put a C- or like maybe C+, around C. It's terrible against the crushers. It just gets bullied. It takes multiple shocks for it to stun a charger. Unfortunately, it doesn't stun on the first shock. And then, like we talked about in the previous video with the arc thrower, it's not particularly great at killing crushers in the first place. It's pretty damn good against flesh mobs, and it's like great against wretches and voteless, but that's all it's good for. I would rather take another turret. I really would. Anti-personnel mines, we're gonna put it C tier. We're gonna put the incendiary ones a little bit higher in B-. We're gonna put anti-tank all the way up in like A tier, and we're gonna put gas all the way up in A tier, and then we're gonna talk about them. So anti-personnel and the incendiary, very harmful to your Helldivers. And I know people are gonna say, well, my teammates are really good at avoiding them. The thing is that Helldivers is not infallible, and a lot of the times you're running backwards away from the enemies while firing. It's hard to always pay attention to what's behind you. So often my teammates or I will just walk into a minefield that was previously set 5 minutes before, and they will die. This is one of those stratagems that in the perfect scenario, your teammates are infallible. They're perfect at seeing mines and they will never miss it. There's never a mine stuck in a bush. There's never a mine behind a rock. There's never a mine inside a body of an enemy. They're super easy to spot. But the thing is that most players are not like that. They will walk into a mine, insta die, and they'll be mad at you. It's the same thing as a mortar. Luckily, anti-tank mines and gas mines, they don't instantly kill Helldivers because anti-tank mines don't even activate on you, but they're also great for other reasons. Anti-tank mines do one-shot crushers, which is awesome. They're basically melt-a-mines. Unfortunately, I can't put it like S tier because it's like, unfortunately, your mines could get activated by other players, which does suck. And the second one is crushers do have some type of a habit of walking through the minefield almost too well without activating any. It's It's odd. It's weird. But you can shoot them when they walk by, which is a thing that you can do. And gas mines are fantastic just for CC over a large area and not being too harmful to Helldivers, which is fantastic. So A tier for me. Shield Gen, I can't really see a reason to bring it. It doesn't really have any use on this faction because there's no real ranged enemies. And it's not like enemies like smack into it or anything. They just walk through it. So do not recommend. We have the Grenadier Emplacement. It's actually really strong because the GL itself is really strong. It does suck that you don't have 360 degrees of turning radius, so you might need to have a teammate watch your back, or you might need to be looking at your back every once in a while. But if you have a bunch of patrols coming towards you, or if you're defending a flag or something like that, and you can place this in a good spot, this thing slays. It's 60 rounds, not needing to reload. I think it's 60. I'm pretty sure it's 60 or 50 or something like that. It's a crazy amount. It's a crazy amount. And you only need 5 per crusher. It's great. Full auto spam, wretches, and crushers. It's awesome. So highly recommend, easy A tier, would recommend. Just be careful of when you throw it down. If the wall itself breaks, it will kill the Helldiver attached to it. So if anything's about to break it, like the crusher's about to hit your wall, detach so you don't get caught in the crossfire. Next, we have HMG Emplacement, another really strong one, easy A tier. It's a little bit easier to use than the Grenadier Emplacement, but the issue is that you need to have more accuracy when using it, and it's a little bit harder to use in that regard. Whereas the Grenadier Emplacement, you just kind of spam at the enemies and they will die, but the HMG Emplacement, you have to be more accurate. But I think if, let's say you have good accuracy, it's going to be easily like an A+ tier pick. Next, we have the anti-tank emplacement. Good, solid, B+. It's a little harder for me to recommend because it's obviously not as good against the wretches and so on and so forth. But if you can set this up in a good spot, I think it'd probably be like A-. It's just, it's harder to deal with the wretches and so on and so forth, but it's good against flesh mobs and it's good against crushers. Solid. Would I rather use the HMG emplacement? Yeah, I'd recommend it. The HMG emplacement is just way more ammo efficient. You know, it's only, I think, like 2 or 3 shots to remove the helmet. And then it's like another shot or 2 just to remove the head of the crusher. Whereas the anti-tank emplacement, you're going to be taking 1 shot to remove the helmet, 1 shot to remove the head. So you're using a pretty large chunk of your overall ammunition to take out every crusher. But if you want to just go for body shots, that's also an option. I think it's a 3 shot on average to body. So they're both good. I highly recommend both. So that is the tier list as it stands here. Some may ask, like, are your positionings on any of the other stratagems, like your backpacks and so on and so forth? They don't really change as far as like city versus non-city. I'm pretty confident in where I've put everything. I'm sure people are gonna kind of roast me about the hammer, because even my chat was a little bit roasting me the other day of like, get good. You know, hey, if you're good at double hitting one leg with warp pack, and I'm sure there's gonna be YouTube shorts about it and stuff like that, you know, fair enough. But I still think it is a fairly meme oriented pick. It is fun, but is not exactly the most efficient choice or a good choice, because it's going to be very risky to you. But once again, you know, AP4 explosive damage with sustained fire damage being third, and then just raw ballistic damage being last in terms of that order of operations that I recommend versus crushers. And then for the rest of the faction, explosive damage just tends to be king in a horde shooter, and it continues here. That's not to say that your ballistic weapons can't be good against the wretches, but bringing a support weapon that is good against crushers just tends to make the mission a lot easier. And then just have a good like primary weapon, secondary weapon, or red stratagem or green stratagem that can deal with the wretches and other. Or just bring us a guard dog. Guard dogs are fantastic. They're really good here. So that is my tier list for the vote snatchers on tier 10. Hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. This is the second part. We will be doing more tier lists in the near future, probably after the Illuminate title update finishes up. I will be covering bot tier lists and bug tier lists afterwards. The next tier list you see from me is going to be a warbond tier list, because I've been getting a lot of questions. Hey, I'm coming back to the game. Which order of warbonds do I use? You might have seen my previous one that I made 6 months ago for the Cyberstand update. I want to do it every 6 months for these title updates, so we're going to do it again. Hopefully, Arrowhead doesn't release another warbond in the next like week or so, because that would suck, but we'll get that out for you. Another warbond tier list that I want to do is a armor tier list. Been getting a lot of questions about, hey, what's the best armors? I also want to do a weapons tier list, primary, secondaries, and grenades versus this faction and Illuminate in general, hopefully. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the tier list. Come on by the live streams, link down below in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. Come on by the live streams both on Minefield_TV on Twitch and YouTube. Remember, it's not this YouTube channel, it's another one. 9 a.m. Central European time, 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace out, everybody. Bye. Bye, YouTube.